Good evening. We would call the Oceanside Planning Commission April 8th to order. If I could get everybody to stand. Commissioner Malik, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Domhowski, would you do roll call, please?
Certainly. Chair Rosales.
Present.
Commissioner Morrissey. Here. Vice Chair Morrissey. Commissioner Balma.
Present.
Commissioner Dodds.
Present.
Commissioner Malik.
Present.
Commissioner Anthony.
Present.
Commissioner Ogden.
Here.
All planning commissioners are present, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we have communications on matters not on tonight's agenda. Do we have any slips to speak on? Again, this is items not on tonight's agenda.
Technically, no, Chair Rosales. We do have an item for number 3, but not for any non-agenda items.
Great, thank you. Then we'll go to item 3, which is approval of the minutes from our last meeting of March 25th. We did have a request to speak on this, which is not normally what we have, but we're gonna, I procedurally understand, gonna go ahead with that. So before we take a motion to approve the minutes, we're gonna invite or entertain that request to speak to this item. Sir, if you would give us your name for the record.
Commissioners, my name is Clifton Williams. I'm a land use analyst with Latham & Watkins, representing Neighborhoods for Neighbors. You have a letter from us that kind of clarifies the things that we watched the commission's hearing several times to kind of go through the minutes. First, the motion stated that no new R1 unhosted STRs were to be west of Coast Highway. The motion should actually be corrected to say that restrict all new unhosted STRs in the R1 coastal zone, because it does go both sides of Coast Highway. And that was in the discussion. Second, the motion states continue previous 2019 legislation on uncapped unhosted STRs. And we just think that there should be a clarification in there, which is to continue that 2019 legislation in the RT in downtown, which is what you voted to put the new STRs into. And finally, the motion in the meeting minutes states to continue to allow all existing STRs in the R1 with additional monitoring services. And we believe that a more complete version of that section would clarify that the motion says, because it did grandfather sort of the ones that were already there, but it's to grandfather the existing occupancy. So if you have a 4-bedroom permit right now, you get to keep your 4-bedroom, but you can't go up to 5, 6, 7 bedrooms kind of thing. And that's just more of a clarification. There was a lot of discussion that was going on in that Planning Commission hearing about the motion, and it was never actually fully stated at the end. So we think that's a proper clarification there. So we thank you for your consideration, and we appreciated the really good discussion last. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney and Rob, I'll look to you in terms of any need procedurally to amend, pick up in the motion to approve the minutes, any corrections, any edits on our part, or are we going to approve those as they are?
It is up to you whether you approve the minutes as they are, taking into consideration what the speaker mentioned. You can. It is, it was your motion. So the vote should be, do these meeting minutes accurately reflect what
right.
occurred.
Great, thank you for that clarification. I'm going to abstain anyway from the minutes and their approval. I was not present at the last minute, so I'll look to any of the commissioners who were present to try to capture what was addressed by our speaker this evening, or if the thought is that these minutes reflect otherwise, kind of the intent and discussion that evening. Louise, I know you ran the meeting, so why don't you jump right in?
Well, not that I, anyway, what we haven't seen, I did respond to Sergio's information he gave us. We all got individually had to say, is this what we felt was what we said, right? So I never got to see the final, if all of us voted inconsistently the same way, because I just pretty much said, yes, that's the way I understood it. So do you know what the final version of that is? I haven't seen it. So in the minutes don't even really reflect that. That just says we voted and it's
Right.
fine, and and I would say yes to the minutes, but we don't know what the actual
That's a good point.
deal was done. We don't know what the actual statements were.
Chair Rosales,
So-
Commissioner Balma, my understanding is the city planner did take into account the discussion and the recommendation and formatted that into a final resolution to be signed by the chair. And there were, the city planner did reach out to each individual commissioner to obtain feedback. And my understanding is that was still in process, and the final resolution has not been signed, but it is intended to cover all the information from the administrative record and the discussion at that meeting in the final version.
So can I ask our commissioners that were here, did you guys actually respond to Sergio's email? I did. Did anybody else respond to it?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did?
I did not
So
respond to it.
one no. What about you? Did you respond? You couldn't. You weren't here. I did not. Okay, so we do have a
We have
couple.
2 noes and 2
Yeah.
yeses.
So we do have to get a couple more people respond to that.
Right.
And I would,
Commissioners,
and
sorry.
thank you for that clarification, Rob. It sounds like we're okay to approve the minutes, as you indicated. This is how to vote it. It's pretty simplistic. It's the resolution that still needs to come forward that will reflect the discussion that evening. Go ahead, Commissioner Malik, you had a comment?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going
Okay.
to say, was that we're just
So
approving
my
what we...
suggestion would be, let's approve the minutes as they are. My other suggestion would be those 2 commissioners that did not weigh in with Sergio's information, please do that so that when the resolution comes forward for signature, it truly reflects the discussion from that evening.
I guess a question for Rob/Sergio would be that we will see that resolution prior to the next meeting, correct? So that we can understand what's been included in that.
Commissioner Malik, that would be correct.
Yeah. And I think we take into consideration the comments that were made today in context to that to ensure that it's in
Yeah.
keeping with what the coastal zone, how the coastal zone is constructed, et cetera.
Right, those comments should be reflective of the version of the resolution that we see when it's ready to come to us. Okay, great. So straightforwardly, then, the minutes, a request is for approval of the minutes as presented.
Right. Well, are we allowed to speak on this subject that came before us as a speaker?
Yes, because
we can?
the content of that letter and the speaker's comments were that he thinks that the minutes do not accurately reflect that. So if you agree with him and want to amend the minutes in any way to conform to that, that's certainly your prerogative. But yes, it was an agendized item. It's properly, the comment is appropriate, and you can consider and discuss it.
Because when I was listening to our speaker and also trying to read through this pretty fastly to see what's going on, there are a couple of things that I didn't remember that we said. Like I thought that when we said grandfathered in, we were talking about some of the different properties there have more than 5 bedrooms. The idea of 5 bedrooms was something that the staff proposed, I think, in option 1. And it was something that we decided that anybody that's already existing there, that's already operating there, which a few of them are existing, operating, have more than 5 bedrooms. So we had said that those guys were grandfathered in. Your letter, number 3, the third one, states that that wasn't what we said, which we didn't even talk about that. So that's just taken something that you would like us to do, but wasn't stated by at least me when I was there. I don't remember talking about that. So I think that's just something you just wanted to add to it. And I don't remember the thing about the whole R1 area in the whole area of west of the freeway. I thought we were just talking about Pacific Street when we were talking about Pacific Street. So this is another one that's kind of stretched out a little bit. So I guess we'd have to kind of look at this letter in more detail to and reflect the ones that were here, and if we really feel that's what we were trying to say to Sergio. Because Sergio doesn't have any of this stuff, I don't think, in his resolution or whatever he came up with, right?
I mean, if you feel like the
this is
minutes
different.
and that motion that was approved is
Yes.
reflective
Yes.
of the discussion, then,
Then we
somebody
would-
make a motion.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Baumann to accept the minutes as they stand.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Malik. Then I will abstain, but otherwise, everybody, if they would vote if they were here, please.
I guess,
Let the record show, motion passes 4-0, 3 abstained.
Thank you. Okay, we do have one,
I have one final question.
yes, go ahead, Commissioner Malik.
So Sergio will see this document as well that was submitted this evening prior to finishing the other.
Yes, Commissioner Malik, as part of when there's a recommendation and the record, we typically go through and review the entire recording of the meeting to confirm that all items were picked up in the recommendation as presented to the Planning Commission. Then the final draft will be sent to you before being signed by the chair.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing items. We have one item tonight, and that is consideration of a development plan and conditional use permit to allow construction of a 3-story mixed-use building located at 1430 South Melrose Drive. I will start with disclosures, read the staff report, and did a quick drive-by. Commissioner Dodds?
Read staff report, familiar with the area, and I did drive by.
Thank you. Commissioner Obama?
I also have the same disclosures, as well as we approved the project next door to it, and lots of stuff in the shopping center when I was on the commission.
Thank you. Vice Chair Morrissey?
Yeah, I walked the site and I read the staff report.
Commissioner Ogden?
I read the staff report, I walked the site, I had some questions, but maybe we'll get to those questions.
Okay. Commissioner Malik?
Site, read the staff report.
And
Familiar
Commissioner
with the area.
Anthony?
Staff report and visited the site.
Great, thank you. Good evening. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, good evening, Commissioners. I am Natalie Vasquez with the Planning Division, and I'm here to discuss agenda item number 4 for Development Plan 22-00022 and Conditional Use Permit 22-00029. The applicant, Medium Oceanside LLC, is requesting a development plan and conditional use permit for the construction of a 3-story mixed-use building with 43 age-restricted units and 2,529 square feet of commercial office, and to allow for a parking reduction. The subject property is comprised of a vacant 1.5 acres on the west side of Melrose Drive and north of Cannon Road. The subject property has a general plan land use designation of general commercial, has an underlying zoning of general commercial, and has a planned block development overlay known as Broadmoor Plaza PD-3. Surrounding uses include residential and agricultural properties to the northeast, located in the jurisdiction of unincorporated San Diego, a commercial shopping center to the west across Melrose Drive, a senior assisted living facility to the south, and multifamily apartment uses across Cannon Road. The proposed 3-story mixed-use building will consist of 43 age-restricted units with 1,224 square foot lobby and 2,529 square foot commercial office. The units will range between studios, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. The project will provide 2 28-foot driveways off Melrose Drive at the north and south end of the project's frontage. A parking analysis was prepared for the project, which determined the parking supply of 43 parking spaces is sufficient for both the senior housing component and the commercial office use for the mixed-use project. 15 standard parking spaces will be covered with a carport, and there will be 1 loading and unloading zone for larger vehicles. The project will also provide 6,645 square feet of open space and amenities in the form of a courtyard, a fitness space, and a roof deck. For your reference, this is the east elevation from the commercial office entrance, and below is the elevation along Melrose Drive. As shown in the rendering, the style of the proposed project would incorporate features consistent with Mediterranean architectural style. The design features will include a use of whitewash stucco, metal railings, casement windows, arched walkways, and a low-pitched tile roof. Also, the commercial component of the mixed-use project will be articulated with the use of large arched storefront windows that will be visible along Melrose Drive. The landscaping is designed to enhance the site and reduce the massing of the building along Melrose Drive. In terms of zoning ordinance compliance, the project complies with the applicable development standards for mixed-use plans, general commercial, and Broadmoor Plaza. As detailed in the staff report, staff has evaluated that the project, staff has evaluated the project and it finds it consistent with the zoning ordinance and general plan. The project's mixed-use design and land use will be compatible with the existing and future developments in the surrounding areas. It should be noted that the resolution was amended due to a request received today by North County Transit District and CTD urging the developer to upgrade the existing bus stop fronting the project site to an ADA-compliant shelter stop to current NCTD standards. The developer has agreed to collaborate with NCTD to improve this bus stop. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission confirm issuance of a categorical exemption per CEQA guidelines, Article 19, Section 15332 for infill development projects and approve development plan 22-00022 and conditional use permit 22-00029 by adopting Planning Commission Resolution Number 2024-P06 with findings and conditions of approval attached herein. This concludes my presentation. The applicant has prepared their own presentation to present to the commission, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. Any questions for staff before we go to the applicant? Mr. Ogden, I'm looking at you.
When I first looked at this week before last, when it was supposed to come before this committee, this commission, I was a little bit concerned about the parking requirements. I took a look at the LSA memorandum, which sets forth in attachment 5, 4.05, attachment 5. And I did a little bit of unscientific research in connection with that. I did talk to a couple of people that do live in senior housing projects. The one that I spent the most time was La Costa Glen. And after talking to a gentleman that is a resident there and has been a resident for quite some time, it seems to me that the parking requirements as set forth in this are adequate. And it just seemed to me, I don't know a lot about parking. I know that's why they've got parking consultants. And more importantly, I know that staff would not recommend this if they didn't have the necessary parking as well. But that was a concern of mine, but it was put to rest by my unscientific discussion with several residents in several senior housing projects. That's all.
Thank you for that input. Any other questions for staff? I don't see my dais lit up, so thank you, Ms. Vasquez. Presentation by the applicant. Please come forward, give us your name for the record, please.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you very much for your time tonight. And appreciate your time and your attention and spending time with us. Too bad that actually Sergio's not here today because we wanted to thank him for being, helping us along the way. We worked on this for a couple of years now. And Natalie has done a wonderful job guiding us. My name is Bob Kim, and I'm with Midham Oceanside LLC. We bought this site about a little over 2 years ago. And what we do is we do a lot of senior apartments because there's a lot of need for senior apartments these days. So therefore, that's our niche. And like you mentioned, Commissioner Ogden. That is correct. Parking is something that we actually study quite well, and we actually LSA consultant here as well. So we're very happy to be here in front of you. And we actually hired TCA because we love their design and they, try to enhance the environment and what have you. But first and foremost, I would like to introduce Phil Bucola, who's brand new to the city.
Oh, that goes the wrong way. Good evening. My name is Phil Bucola, Bucola Engineering, 3142 Vista Way in Oceanside. Tonight's a special night for me. What you're looking at on the screen was known in 1979 as the TMI Triangle. I came to Oceanside in 1979 with the president and vice president of Leisure Technology. We drove out Lake Boulevard, and we got to about where the elementary school is today. And that was the end of the pavement. And then we drove along a dirt road and through all the tomato fields that was there up into going down to the Leisure Technology property. And we stopped up on top of the hill. And we overlooked the 400 acres that Leisure Technology purchased. And we were fortunate enough to be able to do all the engineering on Ocean Hills and the New Venture Christian Fellowship across the street, as well as the development, the small development there across the street from New Venture. After that, we were able to work for Covington, Broadmoor, Barrett, South, and Leisure Technology, and developing what was known to be the South Ridge Trails, the residential projects that you see there along Lake Boulevard. We were also able to be involved in the development of the Lake Park working with the city. We did the Lake Rose Plaza Shopping Center across the street from this project. The New Venture Christian, I mentioned that one, St. Thomas More Catholic Church, and the Aegis Assistant Care. So over the last 45 years, we have been very busy in this area, and tonight I'm very happy to say that we've been made a part of the design team that's going to complete the last 1.5 acres of the 980-acre TMI Triangle. So I would like to now turn the presentation over to the project architect, who's going to discuss our project more in detail. And I'm happy to answer any questions of yours. And of course, the whole team will be available after his presentation for any other questions. Thank you. Up here, move.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Chris Williams with TCA Architects. Let me flip to the first slide here. So the site is a 1.5 acre triangle property that sits northeast of the intersection of Cannon and Melrose Drive. The site is just across the street from Palm Tree Plaza and just north of Aegis Living. When designing the site plan, a lot of care was put into locating the different components. Grading, views, architecture forward towards the street were high priorities. The 43-unit, 3-acre or 3-story building is positioned the front Melrose Drive while parking, and the drive aisles are located towards the back. Studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms fill out the 3 levels, along with 2,500 square feet of leasable office, 1,200 square feet of office space for the building, 2,300 square foot club and fitness, and 1,800 square foot rooftop deck. The architecture is a Mediterranean style and responds to the site by tiering the building along the pre-existing grading conditions. The existing site grades fall along Melrose from 367 feet to 357 feet, about 10 feet going across the site. In the next 3 slides, we'll show you the perspectives that demonstrate the architecture and the site characteristics. This is perspective 1, which shows the main courtyard that fronts Melrose Drive. Immediately, you can see that the Mediterranean architecture that tiers to the site conditions, accommodating the 10+ foot grade difference. The architecture is a blend of classical detailing, such as picket railings, wrought iron supports, exposed rafter tails, and not to mention the classic red tiled roof. The varied roof articulation and tower elements help to highlight the architecture and work with the site characteristics. The leasing office is forefront to Melrose with landscape courtyard tower element that highlights this area up along Melrose. Perspective 2 is located north on Melrose. The tiering of the architecture is further highlighted along with the architectural elements. The landscape courtyard that sits on Melrose is sunken below and adjacent to the road to buffer it from the street. Angling the building towards Melrose gives architectural interest and allows for the landscape areas to be forefront to the plan. Adjacent to this courtyard that's sunken is 2,300 square foot club and fitness space. Above this space, as shown with the umbrellas on the roof, is the 1,800 square foot rooftop deck. Perspective 3 shows the southeast edge of the building, and this is the least visible edge of the building that is kind of facing towards the rear of the site. The leasing office sits just adjacent to this on Melrose Drive with 2,500 square feet of leasable office space that's just adjacent to it. The drive aisle circulates along the building perimeter with all parking hidden from Melrose along this edge condition. The architecture also displays that ornamental details were not spared along these sides, which are not as visible to the surrounding thoroughfares. The images that are displayed here are some of the inspirational images that we've used throughout the design of the architecture. These were consistently revisited throughout the design process and a basis for the development of the architecture and the site plan. We have provided this site plan as additional detail that shows the basic site stats. Some of those stats are 1 bedrooms at 505 square feet and 18% of the total, 2 bedrooms that are 626 square feet to 682 square feet and 58%, and 3 bedrooms that are 996 square feet to 1,022 square feet and 24% of the total. As previously described, the 2,400 square foot outdoor courtyard faces Melrose and is sunken below the street. It is immediately adjacent to the 2,300 square foot club and fitness space and includes amenities such as a fireside lounge with overhead trellis and lounge furniture. Also a courtyard terrace area with dining areas and umbrellas and additional lounge furniture. On the rooftop, an 1,800 square foot deck includes a fireside lounge and entertainment terrace. The deck takes advantage of the surrounding views and creates a unique getaway for the residents. Thank you again for allowing us this brief presentation, and if you have any questions, please ask.
Thank you. Yes, sir, if you wouldn't leave just yet, we have one commissioner with a question. Commissioner Obama? Go ahead.
Okay, first off, I wanted to compliment you, Chris, on this amazing design. I mean, you guys did a great job on what you've taken this site and what you put on this site. I mean, it's just, wish you could be involved in a lot more of the projects we've been seeing that have
Please
no
let us.
style, no architecture. This is way better. So thank you for just really doing a great job with that. I have a question about, this is a mixed-use project, obviously, right, with the office space. And this might be staff or you, because you've been on the site. The site next door, which is the assisted living, another senior living housing development, that was probably also mixed use. And does it also have like some commercial aspects to that?
I don't believe that one has
You don't think
commercial.
so?
No, just seniors.
Because the reason I'm getting this whole thing is like, I've seen so many projects that are mixed use that have to put in the office or whatever they're trying to put in there that just end up staying vacant the whole entire time that this place is activated. And so it's just like, it's like, is this going to be something you think that might actually get leased? I mean, you think there's a possibility for the office space to get leased? Like maybe you already got a bite, somebody who already wants to put their,
It's really interesting, Commissioner. That's a really good question because mixed use is a very nice concept.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't really always kind of work out because oftentimes you're right. You build residential and then mixed use concept. So we will have contingency plans if it does not lease out. However, we're way in advance and we're hoping that we will have some kind of light commercial use, perhaps some kind of office or even architecture for that or something like that.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet, but your question is very, very valid.
Well, it's like, how long does a project have to wait before they can convert it into either more units or something that could be used? Is there like a rule or anything that the city has that after 10 years, nothing's happened, and actually the applicants or the owners have tried, but no one's actually bought in on it? Can you change that space back into something that could be used?
Commissioner Balma, there is not a set time frame on that. The zoning in place controls the land use. So if it is mixed use and it's an approved mixed use project, the vacant area would have to be converted to a permitted use or revise the zoning accordingly. But we've have had similar situations, but we encourage design of the space to be a flex commercial space where it reads commercial and it can accommodate different uses. So to hopefully attract a tenant for appropriate for the area.
So has anybody actually come forth with other projects to actually convert from their mixed-use design to something that maybe they could actually use? Have you remember any of those projects that have come back to you?
The only project I'm aware of is the one on North River Road in Vandergrift at the corner there.
Yeah.
And they were looking to create an alternative space. And I don't recall if we pursued any amendment to that, but they could potentially use it as live-work units where there's a more appropriate use for that commercial space if there's a unit above. And I believe they're pursuing a use of that type to make it more of a residential-based use since there's not much visibility there.
Because that's kind of one of my examples I was going to see if they've even, because that was another project that was done as a mixed use, and they had to put all this commercial in it, and everybody that looked at it said this is never going to happen, and it's probably been there now for, what do you think, 10 to 15 years, maybe 10 years? It has not been activated at all. So this is another example of a beautifully designed building. Everything else is great. Like, I can see that place. Maybe they could make it into a dance hall or something for ballroom dancing. I don't know.
Well, actually, Commissioner, that actually, the very question that you're asking is actually how we thought about it at the very beginning. Because initially we thought about, should we separate out the commercial piece of it or not? But we felt like if it was sitting vacant by itself, then we couldn't really incorporate it into the building and the use of the residents and what have you. So we want to incorporate it into the design itself. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, you did an excellent job on the whole thing. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'd like to echo that. I think it's a very handsome development. And so I'd echo Commissioner Obama's comments. Commissioner Malik, you had a question?
Again, great project design. It's a beautiful building. Living on a busy street myself, dealing with sound and sound mitigation, I'm curious how far below grade the courtyard is and what your perspective is on how much that will dampen that. That's a quite busy street.
Yeah, I think it sits below grade about 6 feet. at one point. Kind of where you see the front entry there on the rendering, that sets up one entire story up above the courtyard that's sunken.
Okay.
So, but as you move down the street, I think it's about 6 feet, and then there's a small retaining wall that kind of fronts on that courtyard over there. So it does sink down about 6 feet. So it takes care of some of the sound. It's more of a visual buffer in a way.
It doesn't bounce when the sound goes in there.
Well, what's really interesting about this street is they caught us completely off guard, actually, because there is like 10 to 12 feet drop from one end to the other. And so then, there is that natural kind of gradation where you can actually create a nice space that's feels kind of like a little enclosure, if you will. So that we try to use that as a way to create a little space for the residents.
And my earlier concerns about parking, I think I will defer to Commissioner Ogden and his extensive research at the local level to determine what, that you guys have taken a hard look at that. That's always a concern for me when you look at the number of potential tenants. With the number of units that you've got, you could have 50-plus people living there, and several of those units could have a couple of vehicles. So it's California, even though we're being told to get out of our cars. That's pretty hard to do. But again, understand what the science behind it is. I think the other thing we have to look at longer term is that 55-plus really isn't senior housing. We need to up that by about 20 years,
well,
maybe 30.
To answer your question, Commissioner, we have done market research, and there are slides if we were questioned about that. And that is typical residents who come in, move-in residents are about 70, 71 years old. And what you find is about 50-plus% is like actually single ladies, and then about 10 to 20% is actually a single male, and then the couples makes up about a little less than 30%. So that's why the car kind of situation works out the way it
If I could do the commercial space, then I'd put in a bar with that many single seniors in there. That's going to be a happening place.
I think you should have ballroom. I think you should have a
Well,
dance.
I'll ask Phil, now that all this stuff is done, maybe Phil can retire, and maybe he and Sergio can throw
He knows the area like the back of his
something
backyard. It's
tacos.
all good.
Yeah, it's
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Commissioner Ogden.
Just three comments. It's going to be partly personal. There are three facts here. I'm the newest member of the Planning Commission. I believe that's accurate.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'm the oldest member of the Planning Commission on this dais. And I believe that this project provides needed housing, senior housing in Oceanside. So when I say partly personal, the sand is running out of the hourglass for me.
What?
So I take a look at something like this as something that I might be living in someday. So I applaud you for the architectural style, et cetera. You guys have done a great job of that. And I would want to live there if I get in the market for doing that. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, one thing that what we find out there is that, as people get older, you don't necessarily want to deal with all the maintenance of the house and everything else that goes with it. But at the same time, all the senior housing that's been provided in the past have been somewhere else. And so what people like to do is that people like to live in the community that they lived in all these decades and years, and then want to be close to their family and friends. They want to be able to go to the same church that they've gone to, and they want to be around their grandchildren, what have you. So that's all part of the reason why we wanted to create this, this place for it.
Yeah. I agree.
Thank you. Vice Chair Morrissey.
Well, since the hourglass is running out, Mr. Ogden, I want to make haste and make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation.
Hold that thought. This is a public hearing, so let me go to the audience
That's
first.
right. We
And
kind of stepped our
see if, first, do we have any slips to speak?
Chair Rosales, we do not this evening.
We do not have any slips to
safe.
speak. I don't see anybody else other than the applicant in the audience, but I still will ask anybody who'd like to come forward and comment on this item before we close the public hearing. Okay, don't see anybody. So We have a motion by, we'll bring it back here. I have a motion by Vice Chair Morrissey to approve the project as is.
Second?
Second by the Sandglass Commissioner Ogden. So
Sands of time.
with that, let's go ahead and vote.
Call him the Sandman.
Let the record show, motion passes 7-0.
Let's go. Beautiful project.
Thank you for your project.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, that was good.
The discount if I move in?
Wow.
Sorry.
Mike wants to move in.
That concludes our public hearing items. We'll go to appeal of city planner's determination. We have nothing agendized this evening, which takes us to our discussion items. We do have one item for discussion this evening, and that's election of chair
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
and vice chair for the period starting at our next meeting, April 22nd to April 21st of next year. So it's been a while since we had elections for, or nominations for chair and vice chair, 4 years, actually.
Doing such a great job.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I think what had a part in it was the COVID.
COVID, yeah.
Right as I got elected chair in 2020, COVID hit like a week later. And to put it mildly, this body and conducting meetings was clumsy, and we were just kind of finding our way through. So I don't think, I mean, I didn't hold on to the chair for that long of a period intentionally. I think it just, we had to work ourselves through that. So, but I very much eager is maybe too strong, but willing to let that role go now. So the way we've done this in the past is varied. Typically, we've done it a couple ways. Typically, I'll just kind of turn over the discussion to any of the commissioners who want to speak to their interest, entertain a motion to nominate somebody, and we'll do one at a time. So I'll let anybody kind of jump in here and make either a comment or suggest a nomination for the chair. Let's start with the chair, and then we'll go over to the vice chair. So Commissioner Obama, you've done this a number of times as I have. So if you want to start the discussion or just roll right into a nomination, I'll let you start with that.
Well, first off, I want to commend you for the fine job you have done those last 4 years.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you as our chair. I think you've done a great job. You've held so many crazy meetings, and you've kept them in order and done, I mean, I could not have done better myself. And I've done your role for several times myself, so
Yeah,
I know
and I hear
what
you
it's
did
like.
a great meeting at our last one that I missed, so kudos to you as well, because I know you've done this role, like you said, many times before.
Which I'm very happy to stay at the role I'm at now, which is just a commissioner. So I'm not into taking a nomination. Not that I'm trying to vie for this, but I do have some comments about the different. We have a fine commission here that I haven't seen such great people for a long time. So any one of you guys would be a great chair, really. I mean, from what I've seen you guys, how you operate. So it'd be hard for me to make a motion, but I would kind of like to point out one person I think that might need to step up. And I'd like to just see if anybody else would feel the same way. But I think that Commissioner Morrissey might be a good candidate for chair. And then possibly, and again, this is not because of any of you guys are any different. I think you're all the same level. But I kind of like this guy's style a little bit. I kind of like Jay maybe for a VP, maybe the next chair. I don't even know. But I'm just throwing this out. I'm just going to kind of go for that comment thing. You guys can all talk now.
Any discussions or thoughts, Commissioner
The
Ogden?
natural progression for me seems that the vice would become the chair, as it's a natural progression. As to the rest of it, I'll remain neutral.
Yeah, let's take one at a time. Commissioner Ogden, you had a thought?
I agree with the last two commissioners' comments as well. I think Mr. Morrissey would make a fine
Do you want to do
replacement for you, and Jay would make a fine vice. So,
Commissioner Dodds or Anthony, any thoughts, any input?
I concur. I believe that I've only had a short period of time here, but, watching them operate and, even in your absence and at times, I agree with that they would be two excellent candidates.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Kevin?
Concur, but I also want to thank you for being a great leader. Coming in, when I first came in, you were able to, one, calm my nerves, because just the way you just conducted things and just allowed me to take the time to kind of learn the ropes and learn how things operate. So thank you for being the leader that you are. And I also have seen Commissioner Morrissey in that chair and thought he did a commendable job. So I think that would be a very good recommendation. And just how Commissioner Malik operates and his insightfulness, I think would be a very good choice for vice chair.
Well, great. Thank you, everyone, for that input. Then I will remove my previous idea on how we do this, and I think I'll entertain a motion. Sounds like there's sort of a running thought here. A motion for nomination of Vice Chair Morrissey for the chair and Commissioner Malik for the vice chair. So unless there's any disagreement, if somebody would like to make that motion formal, I don't think I want to make that motion. So
right.
Commissioner Baum, make that motion
Okay.
if that's okay. And then
I would like to make that motion of Commissioner Tom Morrissey as our new chair and Commissioner Malik as our vice chair. And I think that's going to be
I second the motion.
all right.
great. So we have a motion, Commissioner Morrissey as the new chair for the next year, and Commissioner Malik would be the vice chair. We have a second. Commissioner Ogden, thank you for that second. Any further discussion? Yes, go ahead.
As we're nominated, do we abstain typically or not?
It's been my experience that typically you don't abstain.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's okay to vote for yourself. So, yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm going to vote for you, Jay.
If you really want it, you should vote for yourself.
So we have the motion and a second. Let's go ahead and vote.
Self-serving.
Let the record show, motion passes 7-0 to elect a chair and a vice chair.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations.
Well done, Tom. Thank you.
All right.
Speech.
No, no speeches. Great, then I will close out our meeting. We have nothing under miscellaneous items, and I don't really have anything as the chair in my last chair role to update the commission. I do think, I'll amend that. Thank you, Louise, again, for running. I know that was a very interesting and somewhat contentious meeting when I was on vacation, but I understand you did an outstanding job, so I thank you very much for doing that. So
I do have.
that's it for me. Vice Chair Morrissey, any updates, any reports?
No, I just also want to commend Tom, what you've done. You've been a great leader. You've very articulate. You've kept your cool at some pretty contentious meetings. So thank you. You've been a great role model to follow. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Thanks you, everybody, for those comments. Commissioner Bama, any updates, any reports?
No, I don't think I have anything.
Thank you. Commissioner Anthony.
I do have a question. So when we get these, I forgot the term that he used, the information that we get from Sergio. Staff report? The reports? Well, not the staff reports. The information that we needed from the last meeting. The
Oh,
minutes.
so his clarification, the email with the clarification? Right.
Right.
Okay.
So we get that. If we find that there's some discrepancies in that from this information we got tonight, how is that going to be resolved?
That, maybe I could direct it to Rob, but my understanding is Sergio was looking for confirmation of the motion and the direction of the meeting. I'm guessing if he gets sort of a uniform response back, he'll be able to pull that together. But Rob, I'll defer to your understanding of what Sergio's going to do with all that feedback.
Chair Rosales, that is correct. The city planner will prepare a draft and send it to each commissioner to seek clarification and concurrence at the the resolution accurately reflected the vote of the planning commission. And once that is received, the chair will then review it and sign it, confirming the resolution is accurate.
Great. So, and a reminder, when you do get something from Sergio, and he's very good about this as is city attorney, to not respond to everybody about any comments to violate the Brown Act. So if you get something from Sergio, respond just to Sergio, not the entire group. So, but thank you for that question. Commissioner Dodds, any reports?
Nothing to report.
And Commissioner Malik?
I guess just one further point on that last issue. It was that Commissioner Anthony mentioned. There seemed to be some things in the way that previous resolution, I guess if you will, was worded in terms of everything west of 5 or within the coastal zone. So I think that just needs to be cleaned up in general in that document, because reading it, I believe it had both kind of boundaries in there. So I don't know if, I just want to make sure that that's looked at when, prior to us having to go back and forth. So Rob, if you could make sure that Sergio sees that and understands that it was a little confusing at times, and I think that was one of the points in the document this evening and the points that were made. But other than that, no, Tom, I echo everyone else's sentiments here. I think that you are indeed a really good role model for someone in this position. You do keep your cool in some very challenging circumstances, and it's very much appreciated. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Rob, to Commissioner Malik's point about west of 5 or the coastal zone, I always understood that the coastal zone had kind of a hard line or a clear line as to what was the coastal zone. So I don't know if that would help in the clarification of what was the discussion a couple of weeks ago in the resolution that will be coming forward to us to clarify that means X, if you know what X is. Just throwing a thought out.
Chair, we could certainly revisit the discussion and confirm the language. The coastal zone in general, Coast Highway is the general line, but then as you approach the creeks or the river, the coastal zone does go somewhat inward in those areas. So it varies by each part of the city, but we can confirm the conversation in the minutes and then make sure the language is reflected appropriately in the final version for your signature.
Great, appreciate that.
Push-ups, Louise.
Yeah. Commissioner Ogden, any reports?
No report, just a comment. The very short time I'm here, you've done an excellent job as chairman. I still can't forgive you for rooting for the Aztecs against the Lobos in that game, but I think maybe by the end of the meeting I will.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm looking forward to that. Let it go, Mike. Rob, city planner report?
Yes, Chair. For next Planning Commission on April 22nd, we have 3 items confirmed. And the first will be the consideration of a regular coastal permit with a variance to allow an existing unpermitted deck accessory to a third unit to exceed the maximum lot coverage of 40%, and that is at 1842 South Pacific Street. We also have consideration of a regular coastal permit for a 50-square-foot deck on a second level at 2016 South Pacific Street. And finally, a request for a conditional use permit to allow U-Haul truck rentals at 2001 Oceanside Boulevard at the corner of Crouch, the 7-day auto and brake. They're requesting to park 5 U-Haul trucks for general rental purposes. I believe they'd be 15-foot box-type trucks. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. And nice job filling in for Sergio, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we stand adjourned until April 22nd. Thank you.